Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America show. I hope all of you are having a great day. Welcome into another edition. And first of all, I must say happy Cinco de Mayo to everyone out there. And yes, just to get something out of the way real quick, I have had this repeated to me a number of times because I think it is time that we move past these misconceptions. We all have Google. Cinco de Mayo, not Mexican Independence Day. Two completely different days. So, you know, for everyone out there who thinks that is the reason that we all drink to excess, and especially on a Friday, it could not have landed on a better day. Yeah, it's I think it's like the Battle of Puebla and the French and the surprising victory for the Mexicans. But yeah, no, not Mexican Independence Day. So happy Cinco de Mayo to everyone out there. And that's right, moving on. Welcome into the Computer America show. I am your host, Ben Crossman. Thank you so much for joining us. And like I said, I hope all of you are ready for a great weekend. So before we get things kicked off here, we of course need to mention a few things, including, first off, I hope that our guest joins us today. Our scheduled guest today is Reevu. They make a series of motorcycle helmets. They have cameras and a bunch of other smart technology built into them to make riding a motorcycle safer, because let's face it, it's already a much more dangerous thing. Like, it's not that riding a motorcycle is inherently more dangerous than any other vehicle. It's that when accidents do happen, they tend to be fatal. They tend to be much more catastrophic than something in a car, truck, van, what have you. The motorcycle always loses. So having the ability to monitor yourself, monitor your surroundings, and really keep an eye out, behind you, which has not really been a, plausible thing to do. Well, Reevu has done just that with a heads-up display. Very, very cool. And again, they are our scheduled guest. I hope that they can make it. But yeah. So in the meantime, we have, of course, a few things to mention, including computeramerica.com. That's where you will find everything, including links to our guest show notes. The show notes, which include links to our guest website, any articles that we do, any demonstrations that we do, any videos that we do. Anything that pertains to today's program can be found in today's show notes. Check that out, again, computeramerica.com. Also, while you're there, be sure to check out the live video stream. It's not only can you listen to Computer America, but you can watch Computer America as well. Put a lot of effort into that, and we definitely promote it, and we think you'll enjoy it. And then the last one is, of course, the contest today, where we will be giving away a lucky listener a prize from our friends over at Logitech. That's right. And I believe this week we're giving away let me just double check this here. I should have had it pulled up in front of me. But I believe we're switching up prizes and no longer giving away the Logitech. We're no longer giving away the Logitech Keys to Go keyboard. Instead, we are going to be giving away somewhere around here. But yeah, no, it's one of their mice. It's a $50 value. One of their mice. Logitech is well known for their peripherals, and their mice are some of the best on the market. Highly encourage you to check that out. And yeah, we'll of course post it up on our website. And if you want to enter, again, check out computeramerica.com for rules and how to enter. So, with all of that out of the way, why don't we just get started with computer and technology news while we wait for our guest today? And yeah, and so that's right. So, for anyone who is not familiar with this segment, this is when we, of course, take any relevant news, anything that we find interesting or that you need to know about, and we present it to you and try to inform you with the latest tech news out there. So here we go. Computer and technology news brought to you by Computer America. All right, and I think for our first story, we are going to do this one. And by this one, I mean Uber. Uber, it's a rough time to be Uber right now. I mean, as rough as it can be to be a multi-billion-dollar company with reach the world over, but when you do it in underhanded ways, it seems to really bite you in the back end. So here we have it. This is from The Verge, and here we have Uber, as I said, is under criminal investigation for building software to avoid regulators. Not the best thing in the world. Definitely don't want to hide from those who can throw you in jail. So here we go, saying that it's Grayball, which is a tool that was surreptitiously added to the application. Tool hid cars from law enforcement. So Uber is facing a criminal probe from the U.S. Justice Department, not good, over a piece of software it used to evade law enforcement and transportation regulators. And this by Reuters, saying that the program is known internally at Uber as Grayball. Uber used a software tool to hide cars from regulators who were attempting to conduct sting operations on drivers in areas the company has not yet licensed to operate, such as Portland, Oregon. So here you have it, and yeah, it's terrible thing to, of course, to do. Though this is not the first time. This is not the first time we've seen software used to evade law enforcement, to evade regulators, and it's becoming quite apparent that it's kind of the cost of doing business, kind of the cost of, getting caught is kind of the cost of doing business. And we, of course, we are referring to, of course, the idea that Volkswagen, there we go, Volkswagen, they recently were charged with the whole Dieselgate, as they called it. It was the idea that, they were selling diesel vehicles in the United States that did not meet the bare minimum of regulation for diesel emissions. And to bypass this, instead of, doing any kind of weird trickery, any other kind of weird trickery, they, of course, use software in the cars that when testing apparatuses were hooked up to the vehicles, they were then, the software would kick in saying, hey, we're being tested, give false information, give false readouts to the testing equipment, and then when it was on the road in a normal condition, it would operate normally. And it was one way of evading. They were fined multi-billions of dollars. Really took Volkswagen down a peg, and and when you saw how high it climbed, like, it wasn't just one rogue engineer in the research and development department of Volkswagen. It was all the way to the top. I mean, they had to replace their CEO and a number of the board of directors. I mean, everyone knew about it. It was surreptitious. It was behind the scenes, and yeah, just blatant. If you're in the industry. So this is not, of course, a diesel emissions scandal, but with Uber, it's the same thing. It's how high did this go? Because when something like this is installed, it's not just one random engineer that is installing the Grayball software to evade authorities. This is usually directed by someone higher up, someone, an executive that says that, we see a revenue opportunity. We're currently battling regulation in, for example, Portland, Oregon, and we need a way that people can operate there without being caught by law enforcement. Enter Grayball. So the company prohibited the use of Grayball for this purpose shortly after the New York Times revealed its existence in March, saying that the program was created to check ride requests to prevent fraud and safeguard drivers. So the Times report triggered a barrage of negative publicity for the company, as if it needed more. So, the criminal probe could become a significant problem facing the company that is already struggling with an array of recent business and legal issues. So, they're saying that the nature of any potential federal criminal violation and the likelihood of anyone being charged is unclear, saying that the investigation is still in its early stages. So, I mean, again, this is definitely not something that you want to be caught doing, and definitely not something that you want to be caught hiding. So the article from The Verge continues, saying that it's a multi-step defense, saying that in Uber's eyes, for those eager to violate its terms of service, the company claims it was developed as a way to, as I said, cut down on fraud and protect drivers from violent taxi union protesters. And it claimed at the time that it still uses Greyball primarily for this purpose. So they're saying that whether that's people aiming to physically harm drivers, competitors looking to disrupt our operations, or opponents who collude with officials on secret sting meant to entrap drivers. So again, this was purposely, installed to hide or mask where these drivers are. So just for a little bit more information on how this worked, they're saying that it identified suspicious users either based on credit card information, location, or the type of device being used to access the Uber app, saying that the company went so far as to check credit card data against popular credit unions used by law enforcement and mining public social media data to determine the suspected person's employment. This is very sophisticated. And once the user was grayballed, or obviously the software grayball, obviously it puts you on some kind of blacklist for hey, this person is either a law enforcement, taxi driver, someone who is probably looking to do ill will to our contractor. Then again, Uber would show a different version of its app and fake cars that would not respond to call requests. Pretty sophisticated. So they're saying that Uber used a similar geofencing tactic to prevent Apple employees from discovering that it fingerprinted individual iPhones as part of an anti-fraud mechanism first deployed in China. Wow. And so we have letters from Uber to Portland authorities made available to the public last week indicated that Greyball was used exceedingly sparingly in Portland before the city approved the ride-hailing service in 2015. And I like that, exceedingly sparingly. So yeah, they used it, but not a lot, so they claimed. So Uber has discontinued its use of Greyball as a means of locating and thwarting regulators after the New York Times published its initial March report, saying that it is assumed it is still used for fraud prevention and other purposes. Because again, Uber, it's open to the public, anyone can use it, and obviously if someone continuously rips off, becomes a bad customer, there's blacklisting, but there's also trends that you can point to, and this is what machine learning is. And when those trends point to the probability, it seems like they just use a Greyball to, kind of get out ahead of it. Although, obviously, you can get out ahead of criminal investigations and regulators very, very much the same way. So, Uber, in the news again, but not in a good way. They've had a lot of bad publicity, and it's a rough day to be an Uber employee. But here we go. All right, so that was from The Verge. And again, links to this and more, you can check them out at computeramerica.com. So I think our next one, Microsoft, they're a company that pretty much owns the world. They have everything in their pocket. They are the second most valued tech company in the world, only behind Apple, and that's because Apple makes a pretty good phone. But Microsoft owns a lot, and they have a lot of market share for systems and operating system and things like that. But at the same time, they're lagging behind in one key demographic, and that is, they're lagging behind in browsers. So Internet Explorer used to be, the number one used browser in its space, but then they did away with Explorer for good reason. There were a lot of flaws, and redesigning a modern web browser from the ground up is obviously going to be quite beneficial to Microsoft and what they do and how they do it. But Edge just hasn't caught on. I mean, be it the lack of add-ons, the lack of a marketplace, or just general apathy towards using another Microsoft product, Microsoft Edge continues to struggle. So here we have Microsoft test a secured Edge browser for business. That's right. So where Edge may not be useful to home users, or at least they don't find it attractive, they can at the very least, there we go. Yeah, they can at the very least associate Edge with a business application. And I actually think this is very, very cool. And so here we have it, saying that Microsoft tests, again, a secured Edge browser application guard, as they call it, locks it in a virtual machine, protecting your PC from malware. And this is such a big issue for enterprises out there where, let's face it, if one random person gets malware, then the entire company gets malware. It's a big problem. Windows aims to fix it. So here we have it, saying that if the idea of a more secure Windows browser appeals to you, and as the article points out, by the way, this is from Engadget and Nicole Lee, saying that then you might want to take a peek at the latest Windows 10 Insider Preview build, which includes Windows Defender Application Guard for Microsoft Edge. So this is an extension onto Windows Defender, which comes natively with every installation of Windows 10. So this application guard essentially encases your browser in a virtual machine so that if your browser ever gets attacked by malware, you won't affect the rest of your PC. This is not brand new technology. This is a very common strategy for a lot of different applications. I mean, heck, we talked about Linux and Linux builds that essentially do the same thing, where they run every application, regardless of what it is, in its own little sandbox, in its own little virtual machine. And so that prevents anything that happens in one instance or one program affecting any other part of your computer. So Windows is just adapting this for their own uses, and again, could be very good. So to enable this, as the author continues, you need to use the Turn Windows Features On or Off dialog. Then then mark the checkbox for Windows Defender Application Guard. Again, that's what it's called. So now when you open Microsoft Edge and click on the menu, you'll see the option for a new Application Guard window. Click it and the new special isolated browser window will appear. So this whole thing is possible to the virtualization-based security, VBS, made possible by Windows 10, and that the virtual PC created by Application Guard would keep the Edge browser separated from storage, other apps, and the Windows 10 kernel. This is, of course, helpful for, if you go to the wrong website, if you download the wrong program, if you do the wrong thing, and, assuming you don't give it permission to, but it can mess with your browser all it wants to. It can, infect it, it can do all that kind of thing. But when you close down the application, because it's in a virtual PC, once you close that window, once you close that application, it all gets wiped. It's like it never even happened. Very, very secure and very good. So the author continues saying that other browsers offer sandbox mode as well, but Microsoft says that the application guard is unique because there's a hardware container that makes it possible for malware and other exploits to seep through. I don't know about that, but right. And so they say that there's a couple caveats saying that running Edge in a virtual machine will likely slow it down, of course. And since each browser session is siloed, all data and cookies are lost once you close it. i.e., if you sign up for a website and you have it remember your username and password, then when you close that sandbox and try to open it up in, let's say, another instance of the sandbox or just Windows, Edge browser normal, none of that data will be there, and you have to, of course, re-enter your credentials. So they say it's also only available for enterprise users for now, where presumably because security needs are much higher, but it will be introduced as an optional feature for everyone at a later date. So if you want to try it out, again, that's the Windows 10 Insider Preview build, and it's called the the Windows Defender Application Guard. So pretty cool technology. Not the first time we've seen something like it, but very, very cool for Windows to, of course, add it in. That's right. So, Friday. Let's try to keep it light. Let's try to keep it enjoyable here. As I think we're going to do this one. And light as in I'm not sure what they expected, but Apple Watch, keep doing your thing. So check it out. This is Apple Watch outsold every other wearable last quarter. Yay, I guess. It's such a weird market, but yeah, let's get into this. This is by Mariella Moon and Gadget, saying that the Watch Series 2 has been selling quite well all over the globe. Very nice. And that Apple might not be selling as many iPhones as it would like to, but it sounds like its watches have been doing quite well. And that is according to Strategy Analytics. We're saying it shipped 3.5 million wearables in the first quarter of 2017. Not bad. Which is 60% higher than the 2.2 million devices it did same time last year. So, Cupertino captured 16% of the global market share and stole the wearables crown from Fitbit, which had a much less stellar quarter. Fitbit only sold 2.9 million devices in quarter one, which is, about a third less than it sold at the same time the previous year. So even Xiaomi sold more devices, putting the beleaguered wearables market in third place. Our beleaguered wearables maker. So yeah, it seems like Apple, they did not sell as much as anyone has ever sold in this quarter, but this quarter, Apple Watch and the Apple Watch 2 did sell the most out of anyone. So the results are consistent with Apple's latest earnings report, saying that the company said its watch and TV sales, Apple Watch and Apple TV, jumped 31% year over year. And Tim Cook said watch sales have nearly doubled since last year. Well, there's a lot of room to improve, so take that as you will. So they said that Strategy Analytics Executive Director saying that the Apple Watch Series 2 has been selling well due to enhanced styling, enhanced marketing, and good retail presence. So, yeah, it looks better, it's more well known, and hey, it's available when you want to buy it. Very important. And so here we have, on the other hand, the less and less demand for Fitbit's bands, perhaps due to the increased number of sports-oriented smartwatch options for buyers, saying that its attempt to enter the smartwatch market was also late and quite underwhelming. So while Fitbit still sold the most wearables late last year, it was already in trouble by the beginning of 2017, saying that it had to cut as much as 6% of its workforce. Not good. And in an attempt to recapture part of the market it lost, Fitbit is reportedly preparing to release a new smartwatch and a pair of wireless headphones in the fall. We covered those, and yeah, these numbers, they're good. I mean, great that Apple's seeing an increase. Fitbit is still selling millions of devices every quarter. That's not something to snub your nose at. But at the same time, the wearable market, it's still minuscule. So tiny compared to really computers, smartphones, laptops, tablets, what have you. That's, these numbers, they're increasing, but they're going to have to do this for another couple quarters to really be relevant. So that's right, Apple doing pretty well. Because they needed a few more dollars to put on top of that $250 billion cash stack that they have. Right. All right. So Apple, good for you. Now, next one. Let's see. Okay. How about we talk about... All right, how about this one? Amazon. This will be, something of a relief for anyone out there who has been hoping to get Amazon on their Apple TV. So there was a way to do it, and there was a way to do it. It involved Apple not AirShare, their Apple system of streaming from one device to another, and it was quite convoluted to do it. But Amazon and their movie streaming application is finally coming to Apple TV almost 2 years after it said it would. So, this coming from Andrew Cunningham and Ars Technica. And here we have it, saying that at long last, Amazon will release an official Prime Video app for Apple TV. Saying that at least if a new report from Recode is to be believed. Citing people familiar with the two companies, the report indicates that Amazon and Apple are close to an agreement that would bring Amazon's app to Apple's box sometime over the summer. And yeah, this is a pretty big deal because there's really three main TV streaming competitors on the market. There's, of course, Netflix. Everyone knows them. There's Hulu, and we're going to be talking about them in a little bit. And then there's Amazon Video Marketplace. It's not as big as maybe Netflix, and so not as desired, but a lot of people have access to it, and a lot of people would really appreciate having the ability to have it on Apple TV. So 2 years later, through red tape and unwillingness to cooperate, we are finally getting that option. So, currently, watching Prime Video on an Apple TV requires you to sling it from Prime Video app on an iPhone or iPad via AirPlay. That's what it's called, AirPlay. I don't know why I was trying to say Apple Cast or something. AirPlay, Apple AirPlay. And a clunky at best solution that doesn't always work well and reduces video quality relative to a direct stream. Because obviously now you're going through two devices, two internet connections, and any hiccup in that connection can cause, buffering, lag time, or reduced quality. So, because Amazon doesn't want to give Apple a cut of any of its video revenue, the current iOS app will only play video that you've already bought on Amazon in a browser or on some other platform, saying that the Apple TV app will presumably have the same limitations. So, it's this is Amazon looking for a way around the fact that, hey, if you want to play in our ecosystem, Apple needs a chunk of change to allow you into our ecosystem, whereas Amazon says, hey, these are customers of ours, they want it on your device. That doesn't mean we owe you diddly squat. So, you had a little bit of a fight. 2 years later, looks like we're close to an agreement. So yeah, the arrival of a Prime Video app on the Apple TV would cap off almost 2 years of feuding between the companies. And they're saying that 2 years ago, shortly after they announced the 4th generation Apple TV, Amazon said that it would no longer sell Apple TVs or Chromecast in its stores. Pretty selfish, but obviously for brand awareness, you got to do what you got to do. So that remains true today, saying that if you search for Chromecast returns Roku and Fire TV sticks, while a search for Apple TV returns Roku and Fire TV boxes mixed with third-party Apple TV accessories. Right. So saying that at the time, Amazon said that it pulled the hardware because they didn't offer Amazon Video apps. Assuming that was the real reason and not just a convenient excuse to stop selling competitors' hardware, we ought to see the Apple TV return to Amazon sometime after the video application is released. So for everyone out there who wants Amazon and their Amazon streaming TV service and wants it now, well, this is your chance. This is your chance, and we'll see what happens. But, yeah, it sucks when two companies just fight and it causes the end user to have some kind of, reduced quality. So hey, we'll be right back with more Computer America just after a minute, and then we'll, of course, announce our Facebook winner of the week and more here on Computer America. Stay tuned.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 31 minutes past the hour as we continue on here. And before we get started, before we continue on with all of our computer technology news, just wrapping up a story about how Amazon and they are looking to, and Amazon, how they're looking to get back on the Apple TV. And if you are an Amazon Prime subscriber, you'll be able to get that service through Apple TV finally 2 years down the road. So, now, before we do that, we of course have a Facebook winner of the week. And again, we are giving away a prize from Logitech. We'll contact the winner directly. And all he had to do was head on over to facebook.com and check out the contest there. Very easy to do. Recommend all of you do it. And hey, we love to do it. It's a nice way to give back to our listeners. And yeah, stay tuned for all the contests. So, today, and here we go. Let's see if we get this right. And the winner is, here we go, not bad. All right, and the winner is Mr. Kermit Chrissy. Hopefully I got that right. Kermit Chrissy, listen to us in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Congratulations. And we'll be contacting him to, of course, get his prize out to him from Logitech. And next week, may not be Kermit Chrissy. Oh, actually, we know it's not going to be Kermit Chrissy, but we may be calling your name on the air instead. So check that out here at computeramerica.com. All right. So now we are moving on. And once again, if you're just joining us for any reason, welcome into the Computer America Show and happy Cinco de Mayo, which is, again, want to really emphasize this, not Mexican Independence Day. That is a completely different day. Not Mexican Independence Day. All right. So, our next story. This one is a little bit headier, but I believe in you all. I think we can do this. And Turkey. No, not the gobble gobble kind, but Turkey, the country, they are cracking down on what they call free speech. And yeah, they've rejected the appeal for Wikipedia. Now, I don't feel I need to really explain what Wikipedia is, but for the sake of anyone out there who has never heard of like the third or fourth most popular website on the internet in the entire world, it's a place where a handful of Wikipedia employees, and seriously, it's a handful, it's like, 60 or 70 people for, again, one of the largest websites in the world. They run essentially an encyclopedia on the internet that anyone can come in, edit, add sources, and verify what they write, and it's a collection of the world's knowledge. If you have intimate knowledge on something, if you can verify it, put it down on paper, and add it to a Wikipedia article, it can be done, and it will be done. But they see this, but Turkey sees this as a way to spread propaganda, because some of the pages that were created in reference to terrorist organizations that operate within Turkey, and therefore the entire service. Yes, everything from water balloons to terrorist organizations to string theory to Michael Jackson to everything in between. The entire service has to come down because of this. So we're of course pulling from Engadget and Rob Lefebvre, saying that Turkish courts back censorship of Wikipedia, and that the country continues to crack down on free speech with this rejected appeal. That's right. So, when Turkey blocked Wikipedia last week, its co-founder Jimmy Wales promised to push for a judicial review of the online censorship. And today, Ankara's first criminal court of peace rejected Wikimedia founder's appeal, saying that the popular crowdsourced site contained entries that linked Turkey to terrorist groups. So not even it references organizations that operate within Turkey, but they link Turkey, the government, and Turkey, the country, to these terrorist organizations, saying that the court ruled that since the offending Wikipedia pages remain on the site, it would not remove the country-wide block. And again, to be clear, Turkey can only block Wikipedia for Turkish citizens. Right. So they said that Turkey is a state of law, and this said this coming from the president of the country's Information and Communication Technologies authorities, saying that it is not possible to open access to Wikipedia so long as the decisions are not implemented. So, and of course, the decisions being to remove any information linking Turkey to terrorist organizations. So, the ban instated last Saturday, a week ago, isn't the first time Turkey's ruling party has tried to silence online dissent in the country, saying that the telecommunications watchdog group, Turkey Blocks, confirmed last December that the government had blocked access to the Tor network for most users. And again, the Tor network, that's a whole other bag of worms. But essentially, it's an anonymized way to access it's an anonymized way to access a different set of web pages other than Google. I mean, like, this is going to have really anything. And so it's the Tor network, and yeah, they banned that. Not always a bad thing, not always for criminal activity. A lot of people use Tor to, stay safe online whenever they're trying to browse, and a lot of people use it for a lot of different services, but at the same time, they cut it off. And yeah, and the government also shut off internet access in 11 Kurdish cities, began investigating 10,000 social network users, and used its internet censorship to block Reddit. Reddit being another place for a form of discussion within the country. So, and the article says they've reached out to the Wikimedia Foundation, but safe to say, Turkey, if you're hoping that there's some kind of bastion of free speech, doesn't look like they're heading that way. Looks like they're going for censorship. Looks like they're going for anything that goes against what we say. Instead of disputing it, they are just simply shutting down the conversation. And yeah, can't ever condone that. I mean, Wikipedia, it's weird how the site that, yeah, it's owned, maintained, and operated by, again, a few dozen employees, but at the same time, it's edited and worked on by thousands of people, millions of people across the world. And we have China blocking Wikipedia in its country. We have Turkey blocking it. We have a lot of countries that don't want the free spread of the information held within Wikipedia, which, even Wikipedia says, be careful. This is all user-generated content. This, always check your sources. But yeah, the spread of information really weeds out who likes free speech and who doesn't. So, with that being said, Turkey, it is what it is. Okay, but that gives us time to jump right into another one. I hope I don't give you whiplash through this, this switch up. But here we go. Hulu. Right, Hulu. Hulu Live TV and what you need to know. This is a great article written by Jared Newman from Tech Hive, and it's a good time to get into this because, hey, another competitor, another way of cutting the cord in a sense, but still getting live television. So Hulu, I think everyone out there knows who they are, but they just recently launched Hulu Live TV Beta, and by Jared Newman, here's what you need to know. So, and again, you can check out the video portion to see, pictures and videos and things like that. But they're saying that instead of offering a base package with add-ons, actually, we should start with, of course, how much it costs and what do you get. So, for everyone out there, you can, of course, go through the paid public beta. Service costs $40 a month, so $40, much cheaper than most cable packages out there, but you only get 50 channels. And it includes access to Hulu's ad-supported on-demand service. That's right, so you pay the $40 and you get, which I think is like $12 now, I want to say, Hulu's the ad-supported one. It's like $12 bundled into the $40 price tag of this, and Hulu is charging extra for certain features, such as more cloud DVR storage and ad skipping. I would definitely pay more for ad skipping, but they're saying that instead of offering a base package with add-ons like Sling TV or several other bundled tiers, they're saying that Hulu's channel lineup is one size fits all, with a long list of channels from 7 major TV networks, and that includes ESPN channels from the Walt Disney Company, regional sports from Fox and Comcast, the big 3 cable news networks, and primetime content from the major broadcast networks. That's right. So pretty good so far. Some sports, some, and again, I think they're really trying to target a specific audience with this because, this isn't going to be for your everyday casual, Fox primetime, kind of viewers. It seems like they're really trying to target the sports watchers, which is one of the last holdouts for traditional cable. Is that if you want to watch live sporting events, hey, you got to have a cable subscription. This seems like Hulu's attempt to cut that last cord. All right. So they're saying that the notable omissions include AMC, Viacom, and the Discovery networks. That means that no Walking Dead, no Comedy Central, and no Animal Planet. Some big names in there. And if you've been paying attention to other streaming bundles, you know the drill for live broadcast. All 4 are available in a small number of markets, saying that you have things like Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, Philadelphia, San Francisco, essentially the large cities, and where the stations are all network owned and operated. Some cities have partial sets of locales where Hulu is working on deals to work on it. So even if you sign up for the service, you may not get your local news. You may get the most local it can be. So, watch out for that. So the DVR details include, and of course DVR is included in the base package, but you can only record 50 hours of programming. It sounds like a lot until you start recording stuff, and then it gets full really quickly. And another little tidbit, if you record things, you can't skip through the ads. That's right, mandatory ads are also part of YouTube TV's cloud DVR service. So they're not the only one, but hey, you cannot skip the ads in your DVR. Hulu hasn't said whether the recordings have a time limit, but, most often there usually are, be it, PlayStation, which is like 1 month, YouTube TV, which is like 9 months. I know DirecTV does like 6 months. There's usually a time limit as to what you can, how long you can keep your recording. But they're saying that for $15 a month extra, which is a lot, that's almost 50% increase, you get enhanced cloud DVR, which gives you 200 hours of recording time and the ability to fast forward through commercials. $15 a month to get something that is pretty much the reason why people use DVRs. So I think baseline, again, if you include the ability to skip through ads, you're already paying $55 a month. Hulu TV looking less and less appealing by the minute. So, on-demand content, saying that beyond the DVR, Hulu's channels will offer a smattering of on-demand video. But Hulu is also throwing in the full catalog from its own on-demand service, as they should, and films that might not be part of other bundles. So the service normally costs about $8 with ads or $12 without ads. So to avoid the ads in Hulu's live TV service, you'll need to pay the $4 per month difference. So we went from 40, add 15 for the enhanced DVR features. You're up to 55, add 4 for the ability to skip ads for their live TV service. And yeah, you're up to $59, almost $60. So here we go. Streaming restrictions. This is going to get ridiculous. So streaming restrictions include that the base package supports 2 streams simultaneously and up to 6 user profiles, including a kids mode that restricts the catalog and prevents searching. So your kid can't watch, The Godfather or what have you. An extra $15 a month will allow unlimited device streaming at home. And that is, of course, presumably verified by IP address. So as many devices on the same IP address as you like, $15 a month extra. So $59, we're now up to $74. And up to 3 simultaneous streams outside the home. Still not amazing, but hey. So we're up to $74. For subscribers who want full DVR features and fewer streaming limits, Hulu is offering the 2 add-ons for a $20 per month total. So, yeah, let's knock off $10 because that's what they did. Now we're up to $64. Premium channels, currently they only offer on-demand version of Showtime for $9 per month, which is already an option for Hulu's on-demand service. So they said that the other premium add-ons will arrive soon, but it hasn't given any details. So take that 64, we are now up to $73. That's the best deal with premium channels. And right now it works with Apple TV, Xbox One, Chromecast, iOS, Android Mobile, and of course PlayStation, what have you. All those, and they will continue to add support for other devices. And yep, so $74, you get all of that. I don't know, $74 sounds a lot like a traditional TV. Like, I know cable bills can get a lot more, but for what you're getting, I am surprised this is the best that Hulu could come up with. At any rate, they're saying that Hulu hasn't given any official explanation as to why it's launching a beta, quote unquote, because again, this is Hulu Live TV beta. And that it could have to do with the limited device support, or it could be an attempt at deflecting criticism in case there are any launch hiccups. And yeah, they have a full list here. This article is included in the show notes. But yeah, they have a full list here of they have a full list here of all of the compatible TV channels and what you're going to get. I mean, it's a decent lineup, but you're definitely going to be missing quite a bit from this package. So matches up pretty good with the other services out there, but I don't think it ever is. It's not at this point going to match up with either traditional cable as we know it, or just cutting the cord completely and only paying a fraction of what this would cost. Because again, if you can get by on just Netflix, or let's say Netflix and you can do Hulu, you're paying $30 for all that content, whereas here $74 a month. I don't know. If you find this appealing, available now. Again, Hulu Live TV beta. Go ahead. All right. So now, with that out of the way, speaking of things that cost too much, I think we have time to. Wow, we do not have time to get through this one. All right. Instead of that one, how about we talk about? How about we talk about a way that a lot of companies a lot of people out there in their houses are trying to save money? And the number one way is cutting the landline. So this is something that we've had a lot of companies here on the show talk about. Cutting the landline. Landline phones are quickly going out of style, especially with the advent of voice over IP. Only makes sense. And, again, here on Computer America, we've interviewed the best. We've interviewed, things like Uma. We've interviewed things like Magic Jack. We've interviewed things like, a number of them. Ways to cut the cord and, hey, save yourself a lot of money. But this is an article from Engadget talking about just that phenomena, and Tom Regan saying that most American households have abandoned their landline phones. Seems obvious in today's day and age, but you'd be surprised. Saying that a U.S. Health Department study has confirmed that most U.S. citizens have completely stopped using landline phones, shocking to no one. And in a report today, the government revealed that 50.8% of American households are now cell phone only. Finally, we are at the point where just over half of American households only have cell phones, with just 40% using both a mobile and a landline. Still a pretty large number, and that leaves nearly 6.5% of U.S. homes that just use a landline, and the remaining 3.2% not owning a phone of any kind. That last one makes no sense to me. I don't know, 3% of people running around with no phone or landline? That is either blissful or horrible. I don't know, I can't tell. But at any rate, saying that the declining interest in landlines likely has one major culprit, and that is, of course, the smartphone. Saying that when the same study was conducted 10 years ago, just 15% of American households were wireless only. Given the meteoric rise of cell phones, you can say that again, the results of the latest report are hardly surprising. And with people increasingly relying smartphones for access to work emails, GPS, and utterly essential Tinder dating applications, the tethered internet-free landline starts to look a little redundant in 2017. Makes sense. Where they said that the government survey reflected this, with over 70% of 25 to 35-year-olds reportedly only owning a cell phone. So the younger generation is overwhelmingly heading to a cell phone-only system. So, strangely, adults living with children were more likely to be wireless only than a household of just related adults. So, with kids, only cell phones. Without kids, hey, splurge for both. With at least one parent usually having to work, families with kids most likely have to rely heavily on cell phones to get in touch on the go. So, as you'd expect, with any consumer electronics study, income also plays a fairly large part here, saying that adults who were close to or below the poverty line were far more likely to be wireless only than those who were well off. Although, honestly, the landline probably isn't the sexy status symbol that young people are striving towards. That's right. So, yeah, they found that if you don't make as much money, again, at or below the poverty line, you probably just have a cell phone. It's to the point where cell phones are not the sign of expendable income, but rather having a landline is. It's the bare minimum is a cell phone, whereas on the flip side, 10, 15, 20 years ago, having a cell phone was the sign of disposable income, and having a landline was, baseline. Not so much nowadays. So, yeah, very interesting there, and very interesting. We just now switched over to the majority of households have only cell phones. Thought it would happen quicker. I really did. All right. So, now, why don't we move on to one last story? We don't have time for one more. And, we can get into this one. So, I don't know if we really can. Okay, so by the way, everyone out there, if you want to check out any of the stories that we covered today, if you want to check out anything else, computeramerica.com for full show notes, including links to all of these articles. Definitely check it out. So, in the meantime, why don't we do this one? Saying that, all right, how about we do this one? And Walmart, you know them, they do everything. Although they have not been doing everything as well as Amazon has in the recent past. So, their response? Walmart eyes a future Dash replacement that could reorder for you. Not the newest idea in the world, but hey, you have to compete. Saying that it's working on an Amazon Dash rival that could automatically reorder items when you need it. And yeah, so this coming from, again, Engadget, Nicole Lee. And that when Amazon's Dash button first debuted 2 years ago, many people thought it was an April Fool's joke. Because, of course, a device that you could press to order toilet paper isn't that the height of laziness? And as it turned out, it wasn't a joke at all. So, from Surprise Chocolates to Calvin Klein underwear, there are now well over 250 brands that have joined the one-button press bandwagon. It's no surprise that when Walmart wants to go in on the action too, because the retail giant apparently filed a patent back in October that looks like an Amazon Dash rival, but with an Internet of Things hook, saying that instead of having to press a button to replenish the order, the Walmart version would do so automatically. Thank goodness. So tired of pushing buttons. I wish people would just take my money automatically. Being sarcastic there, but at the same time, hey, just shows Walmart is heading towards the same kind of system. So they're saying that the Walmart system would require you to add some kind of internet connected tag on products in order for it to monitor its usage. Saying that the tag would probably use Bluetooth, RFID, infrared, NFC, blah blah blah. And once you're down to say the last 4 rolls of Bounty, Walmart's system would just automatically order a new batch. And the Walmart patent also describes a way to track expiration dates and product recalls. I actually like that one. I've been caught up in a few product recalls. It's very annoying to have to go and figure out if your product is part of the recall. I actually do like that part, but not the other part. So, aside from providing just a quick fix for its customers, Walmart would also use the shopping tech to gain valuable insight into consumer behavior. Because again, all these things, it's not just about, well, part of it is, of course, about providing convenience for you, but it's also about collecting data. And hey, if you can figure out how people act, behave, use your product, and when they use your product, you can better and more accurately market your products for that use case. So the application goes on to say that based on this data, Walmart could then cross-sell your products that better fit your lifestyle. So if you're constantly buying shoes, for example, it might suggest more durable brand the next time around. And the author says that we should note that this isn't the first time Walmart has tried to take on Amazon Dash, saying that 2 years ago, the company partnered with Haiku, a small voice-enabled shopping button that will let you add items to a shopping list just by speaking or scanning barcodes. And of course, the
90 seconds.
It's a third-party hardware, and that people, well, yeah, they could use it with more than just Walmart. So they're saying that it was also more expensive, yada yada, just didn't take off the way they expected it to. So it remains to be seen if Walmart will actually bring the patent application to life, but it does at least indicate that the company is aware of it, and they might just be trying to compete against it. All right, everyone.
60 seconds.
It for Computer America. I want to say thank you so much for joining us here on the program. I hope all of you had fun, and again, I hope all of you have a great weekend, a great Cinco de Mayo. Don't get too silly out there, everyone. And yeah, have a great day, everyone. Tune in next week as let's see some of the people we have on next week. So tune in next week as we have on the show Fire Dragon Security. We have Sandy Berger, of course, and Ralph Bond later in that week. as well as Epson and a few more guests. So hey, check back computeramerica.com, and everyone have a great weekend. Can't wait to see you. Can't wait to see you till then. Bye bye, everyone.
Ten seconds.